welcome to the Leeds That podcast. My name's Rocco and I'm delighted to be joined once again by Isaac Johnson of Leeds Live.
Hi, how are you, Rocco?
I'm doing very well in the circumstances. How are you doing?
Yeah. Well, let's say it's been interesting. Yeah, no, very good. It's interesting times, yeah.
You felt the wrath of the Leeds fans yesterday for your measured article about Mellier, which we'll get into later, but yeah, hope your phone didn't blow up yesterday with all the notifications.
Yeah, I had a few notifications, to say the least. I understand why, but yeah, we'll get onto that shortly.
Yeah, well, let's start with Saturday, because I'm like interested to get a more neutral perspective. I know you call us we, but you are fairly new to this, and you're not an emotionally scarred Leeds fan, let's say. So, do you think Saturday was as bad as I think, and most of the Leeds fans are panicking about? Was there cause for panic in the performance itself? Do you think?
Yeah, I do actually. I do think the reaction to the performance overall, and Mellier and just everything overall, really was justified. I don't think Leeds played very well at all, and actually they haven't played well for a while. I think probably the last time they played well was probably Watford away. Now, obviously, I know they've won since then, but like in terms of a performance, they've not really found any sort of rhythm in any game since then. And yesterday, I think fans and myself and all of us in the press box thought, right, it's a reset now, final 8 games. Okay, not a physical reset for everyone, but a mental reset. Hopefully now they can sort of kick on. And within 35 seconds, we thought, yeah, they'll do it. And it was Aaronson who scored, which for him was a massive confidence boost. But then he sort of went back into his usual patterns, and everybody went back into their usual patterns. And that first half after the first goal was absolutely dreadful. I mean, there was so many misplaced passes, miscommunication. It just wasn't very good. And actually, Leeds were very fortunate to go into the break 1-0 up. I mean, obviously, yeah, the penalty save. We had that chance as well when it was ricocheted off the post and it fell into Mellier's gloves. Yeah, so second half was better, but it wasn't nowhere near what was required either. So I think there is a bit of concern there, I've got to say, yeah.
I was thinking, can you give Swansea credit? They're a team near the bottom of the league, managerless, although I think Sheehan is actually the manager, but only till the end of the season. But the first half, I mean, they were excellent. Am I clutching at straws by suggesting that, we just faced a team that was, really on it on the day? Or were Leeds just that jittery?
I think it's probably a bit of both. I think they got the tactics. They did the tactics quite well. I asked the Swansea manager after the game, Alan Sheehan, I asked him, which areas did you target, basically? And he said, I don't want to give away the game plan. But he eventually said that it was about making sure Leeds didn't have enough spaces to play in. And if you think about the final third for Leeds, they did that pretty well. To be honest, Leeds didn't have many. Well, they did towards, the latter stage of the second half a little bit before the second equaliser. But for the most part, they frustrated Leeds. There wasn't many real clear-cut chances. Obviously, James cut in and he swooped the ball several times. And their keeper made a good save from Peru in the second half. But that aside, really, there wasn't loads. So I think it's a bit of both. Swansea also didn't have as many international players out as well. I think in the current squad, I think there's about 11 in the Leeds squad that went out on international duty, which for a championship club is actually quite a lot. And obviously Tanaka and Firpo didn't come back till later last week anyway. So that's why they didn't start. And I think all of that just played together and we got the result. And I think Leeds have to be overall satisfied not satisfied, but as the game panned out, a draw was probably, well, put it this way, the Swansea boss said it was the least that they deserved. And I don't think I can disagree with that.
Yeah. It's funny because we came back last season from the last international break, 8 games to go, and we drew that 2-2 as well. But that was actually a late equaliser for Leeds at Watford. And, you're thinking it's a decent enough point. The next game we played at home to Hull and we played bad that night, but we got away with it. And it was similar to the weekend, but, we managed to get the third goal and it was 3-1. I think we scored a fairly late penalty just to go 2-1 up. So, yeah, it all doesn't really bode well for Leeds at the moment. And I don't know whether Farker's feeling the pressure, but I guess the room must have been in a bit of shock when he came out with his sweeping statement about 100% certain of promotion after the
Well,
match. What did you make
yes.
of that?
Yeah, it's so that actually came when he was on a long answer about not slipping up this season as he did last season. So it was like buried in a load of other comments basically. But it did perk the ears up when he said that, because it is the most outright that he's been in regards to going up and finishing in the top two. Now, he's always had faith in his squad. He's always underlined that. But when you've asked him before about the top two and automatic promotion, he said, well, if we win X amount of points, we'll be in a very good position. Or he said on Thursday, we're guaranteed a top four place. And it's always been very reserved. And that was the most outright when he said 100% convinced. That's the most outright I've heard him. Now, there's a few ways of looking at that. One is to say it's not coincidentally timed. I don't think it is. I think the fact that Leeds have been top for so long and then they've fallen to second and he's decided to say it now, I don't think that's just a coincidence. I think he wants to send a message to obviously the supporters, but I think the players as well. I think that's what that was for mostly. And yeah, but also there's the other side of it where, well, he has to say that because end of the day, you don't really want to talk about sackings too much, but I think everyone's of the assumption if Leeds don't go up, Farker won't be here next season. And so it's sort of a no-risk statement for him, really. People were saying, it might be a bit arrogant, but he's got a lot to lose. But in regards to the statement itself, he hasn't got too much to. The situation doesn't change, as it were. But yeah, it was the most sort of blatant he's been about his faith in the squad, which I don't mind, but I can see why people are a bit sort of apprehensive about that type of talk.
It just seems so out of character. I mean, when we spoke, just the other week, we were talking about how cool he is. He's the coolest man in the room all the time. So for him to come out and say something like that, I don't know whether you sensed a change in him. I know they'd just come off a last minute equaliser, which I'm not sure whether you've seen him after such an emotional moment. But did you detect a change or sort of defensive demeanour about him in that presser?
Subtly, I wouldn't say it was overawing or anything like that, but yeah, I think it was a little bit, especially with that statement, because it is crunch time now. That whilst 7 games is he's still got time to turn it around. It isn't loads of time. And we are getting to the crunch time of the season. And obviously, as any natural person would do, you're thinking, oh no, it's not going to happen again, is it? Now, obviously, Farker won't say that out loud. And he did tonight and say it's a different squad, different circumstances. And to an extent, that's right. But everyone's human. Everyone will have recollections of what happened. So he knows that his job's on the line, basically. It's win or bust. That's it.
The crunch time continues on to Luton on Saturday. Really big game. Yeah, looks like a banana skin. So what are you thinking? Obviously, the big one is Mellier. I read your article, and you think that it's likely that he will and should remain in goal. So yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So let's go for
Explain yourself.
Yeah, because I've had a lot of feedback, which I totally understand, and I'm not saying those who disagree are necessarily like wrong in their view, because I totally get where the anger is coming from. But what I'm sort of coming from is, what's the solution? Okay, it's Darlow. He's played 3 cup games all season. He's conceded he conceded a goal against Millwall. The first one he couldn't do anything about, but the second one, I think he'd probably be disappointed to concede that. For Wales, he's conceded goals against Kazakhstan and North Macedonia. Now, whether that's to like disregard him totally for the starting spot, no, I don't think it is, because at the end of the day, he probably wouldn't make the blunders that Mellier has. But my point is, I'm not sure that the saves Mellier has made, I don't know whether Darlow would have made them. Basically, I'm not saying he wouldn't have necessarily, but we just don't know. We don't know, and that's why it's the risk. At least with I was going to say with Mellier, I was going to say at least with Mellier, you know what you're going to get, but actually you probably don't, to be honest. But yeah, I think the better debate is one of confidence. And I think it's whether he's lost that confidence himself, whether defenders have lost confidence. And Farker has a decision to make, because if he changes the team, the point I was trying to make in the article is that sends a message to the squad in the fact that he's been so steadfast all season with sticking behind Mellier, and if he changes now, it's like, oh no, the boss's mental mindset is creaking, and I don't think Farker will want to show that, quite frankly. But then the other alternative is if he sticks with Mellier and the defenders aren't confident with Mellier, which is the risk in the sense of they don't play their natural game and they feel really too tentative and they don't play their best, and that's also a concern. So it might be all down to how Mellier is feeling or how Farker judges Mellier is feeling.
You made a really good point in the article. You mentioned that Mellier last time again after Hull, he bounced back, and I think was it 6 clean sheets in a row he ended up keeping or something. So
exactly. And this is it as well. I totally get he's undoubtedly he's lost points for Leeds, undoubtedly, and he's landed Leeds in this situation. And it's very clear as well that Leeds need a new goalkeeper next season, regardless of which division they're in. But I think it's also a bit harsh to just ignore the saves he's made as well. I mean, the 2 saves made against Coventry, those difference between Leeds drawing 2-2 and winning 2-0. People will say the block against QPR we should have made. Okay, fine, but you still got to block it. The double save early on against Sunderland, I think he deserves credit for that. Some people are saying he should have made it anyway, but I think that was a good double save. Basically, I think he won Leeds some points there. Now the problem is he's lost Leeds a load of points, and I can 100% see why fans do want him dropped. But what's the alternative? It's all right saying there's a problem, but what's the solution? Is Darlow really the solution for who's not played a league game all season? The run in and the 7 games to go. Goalkeepers have different mannerisms, so the back line have to get used to playing with Darlow, and they need to get up to speed within less than 7 games. I think Farker will see it as too much of a risk, and I'm not sure he will go down that route. And fans be disappointed, unfortunately.
Yeah, I am apprehensive either way. I mean, like Darlow against Harrogate Town, for example, he kept a clean sheet and he got credit. I made the point afterwards, if Mellier would have done that exact performance, people would have been on his back. Like there was a cross that he dropped. He ended up then catching it. It was just similar, and there was other little small things like a kick out of play and, the crowd would be groaning. So I worry for Mellier. I mean, Luton is literally the worst stadium he could possibly want to go to next, The fans are right on top of him. The Leeds fans are right on top of him. I just hope that he's mentally strong enough to cope with that.
If Mellier starts, we think he will do against Luton, and he has another blunder, I don't think Fark will have any other choice but to swap him. Because he's just, obviously his mindset's not there. So Luton is a very, very big game for him as well. But like we said, in the past, he has tended to sort of bounce back after blunders. Against Sheffield United was a bit of a nutshell, really. That first half, he was all over the place with catches, and then he stabilised in the second half, and Leeds came back and won. So don't get me wrong, I definitely understand the criticism, and I'm not admonishing him of that at all. And Leeds do need a new goalkeeper, but for these final 7 games, will Farker change it? I can't see it.
It reminds me a little bit of when things were going wrong in the League One promotion and Beckford, who'd scored 30 goals that season already or nearly there, he ended up getting dropped, and that ended up sparking us into form. And I don't know whether that would happen with Darlow or whether it's a case of bringing someone in like Gnonto, or whether we don't even need to panic at this point and start making changes. But do you think there'll be other changes? Do you think, I mean, surely Gnonto's got a big say in getting in the team now?
Yeah, so I've written a piece that will go out today that I think Gnonto should start at number 10 against Luton, because I know he came on the right the other day against Swansea, but he made the pass which led to the corner, which led to his goal, and he made the pass when he was more centrally. He just looked far more of a live wire in there, and that was him after a knock. That was him after just 5 minutes of game time. And he's also, because he's been on the bench so much this season, he's got more energy as well to sort of give. And that's why I think, by the way, I think for this game at least, Solomon needs a rest. He's not scored or assisted in the last 7 games, and on Saturday he looked so bereft of confidence. And the best thing he did was show quick feet in his own half and win a free kick. against Swansea, and we all know what he can do. We've seen what he can do. He scored 4 goals and he got 4 assists in 7 games between January and February. You know, you don't become a bad player overnight, and he's not a bad player, but I think he needs a mental reset. I don't think physically, I think he's all right, but I think it's just the mental match load, because over the international break, he obviously played twice as well for Israel, so he's not really had that much of a break. With Aronson and with Nonto, I don't think there's too much of a debate for Aronson to start, unfortunately, now, because he's had a break. He scored. I know he scored, and this might sort of, though, come as sort of like a weird suggestion after he scored. But after he scored, he just fell back in the same pattern. He didn't do anything again. And as soon as Nonto came on, I know he was on the right, but when he came in centrally, he was much better. So I think he's got to give it a go. Basically, these next 7 games will be decided on Farker's stubbornness and whether he sticks with the team that he's always has done, or he's willing to rotate a bit more. Now, you could say he rotated a little bit on Saturday, but that's only because the internationals, rotate when players aren't there, either performance-wise or mentally. Will there be a few changes? I don't know. I think there should be a few changes, yeah.
I think we'll see either Saturday or Wednesday, regardless of the result, even if they win against Luton, with going to Borough, another tough away game, other end of the country midweek, and then coming back for, it is the early kickoff, isn't it, on Saturday? So normally you'd expect he might do something. Last question, which isn't a big controversial way to end, but would you start Rothwell in midfield?
Not if Tanaka's fit. It's not that I don't think Rothwell did anything wrong. He did really well the other day, actually. But I think Farker will go with Ampadu, because obviously he got brought off after an hour, but Farker said that was only because he got a card. He said he would have kept him on longer. I'm not so sure about that, really. I think an hour was probably enough. He didn't have his best game, but I think he will start him again, because he said also after in the press conference, he said it's no coincidence that when Ampadu went off, Leeds hadn't conceded. So that all points towards that direction. And then, do you play Rothwell alongside Ampadu? Maybe, but I think we've seen this season that he prefers Tanaka. When someone's been dropped, it has been Joe Rothwell and not Tanaka. And also Tanaka, that will give Tanaka more license to go forward. And I actually think Tanaka is better when he does go forward and has that freedom rather than sitting, which he's been made to do in recent matches. So yeah, I would say it would be Ampadu and Tanaka, even though Rothwell did play well, I think, against Swansea.
Good. It sounds like your team sounds pretty good. Shouldn't give up any chances, hopefully. No corners, no crosses, and everything will be just fine.
Yes. Well, all ours will be on one person, I think, won't they, on Saturday. It's a big game for him. It's a big game for Mellier. And it's how we react to that. And I totally understand where people are coming from and the anger and the frustration, because that's at least 3 games now where he's cost Leeds the win. I'm not sure the alternative Farker will be a fan of, initially anyway. He might not have any choice if he makes another blunder against Luton. I think that will be the talking point.
That's it, yeah. All eyes on Thursday, I suppose. He won't be able to hide from it on Thursday, will he? He'll probably come out with another sweeping defence of him. Yeah, look forward to that. Look forward to your early start on Saturday. Fingers crossed for the result. And yeah, hopefully speak again soon. Thanks for joining us.
No, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.